Well, the Quest 3S officially launched on Tuesday, finally bringing mixed reality on a budget. This is Brennan with BC Labs, and let's get into it. Meta really went for the throat with their Quest 3 lineup, both by dropping the Quest 3S at the $299 price point, as well as bringing the Quest 3 down to $500 and $430 while supplies last. Now with this video, I hope to cover the first impressions of the Quest 3S versus the Quest 3, and talk about a few of the features that were glossed over. So the Quest 3S brings users the same single LCD setup with a 1832 by 1920 resolution of the Quest 2. This, as well as the near identical optical stage, makes the physical construction quite close to that of the Quest 2. Of course, the major departure is the dual 3-dot clusters on the front, bringing 2 front-facing tracking cameras, 2 color pass-through cameras, and 2 IR blasters. The Quest 3S is MR ready. The XR2 Gen 2 chip that it shares with the Quest 3 is where the upgrades really end over the Quest 2. The added horsepower really helps to push the boundaries of standalone VR, just like the Quest 3. This enables better render resolution that just isn't possible on the Quest 2, even with an almost identical lens and screen stack. This is because you can render the game at a much higher resolution than you are actually going to output to the display to get more crispness. I hear a lot of people talk about being content with the Quest 2, but I think for me, unless you're doing PCVR only, I'd start to reconsider that. If you are mulling over buying a discounted Quest 2 over a Quest 3S or Quest 3, it's really important to make sure that you strike a balance on the price point. There are so many cool MR experiences like Demeo, Thrill of the Fight, Sense Riders, that just do not feel right in the distorted black and white pass-through. Now, there are price points where it makes sense to go with the Quest 2, but only if you're willing to give up those differences and you are willing to accept the fact that they are starting to wind down game releases that support the Quest 2. This is a parts bin device. There are no arguments against that. It really is an amalgamation of the Quest 2 and a Quest 3 hardware with a different shell. The action button and the IR blasters are the only notable upgrades over a Quest 3, and those are kind of give and take. Otherwise, the much more crisp lenses combined with the slightly denser construction make the Quest 3 a better device as a whole. Overall, I think comfort, regardless of the slightly less compact design, is pretty similar versus the Quest 3. The strap is basically identical or is identical. The facial interface feels to be made of the same materials as the stock Quest 3 interface, other than that it has a fixed glasses spacer versus adjustable notches that the Quest 3 has. They have a similar mounting mechanism to make them universal between the two devices, except the Quest 3S's strap doesn't work on the Quest 3 because it doesn't have a cutout for the audio jack. In complete honesty, if a person has an IPD that meshes well with one of the 3 IPD selector settings on the Quest 3S, I would say that it's pretty good as a budget Quest 3 option. I'm still waiting on Batman to drop so I can spend more time on the Quest 3S just to test it out to the fullest extent. But overall, I think that the lenses are really not that bad. I understand people want the pancake lenses, and they don't come near the pancake lens quality, but that's to be expected. The high cost of the pancake lenses is probably around $80 raw cost from all the estimates, and that's nearly half the price difference from the Quest 3. So it makes sense that they can't offer it at the same price point. And so that's really going to be one of the differentiations for people, whether or not they're willing to splurge for the Quest 3 or stick with the budget option. Fresnel lenses have been the industry standard for a very long time, and that's because they're decent. They're not great, but they're decent. I do think that the lenses themselves, as well as the better compact design and balance of the Quest 3, are upgrades. Don't get me wrong. And the depth sensor probably comes into play at certain points. But the Quest 3S doesn't feel like a downgrade, really. I think between the IR blasters and the fact that it does have a decent build quality overall and decent structure, it doesn't feel like you're stepping far back. Although I do like the better balance for the Quest 3 and the lenses, after playing with the Quest 3S, it doesn't feel like a major downgrade. It feels like a side grade with a few caveats. I really am looking forward to play with my Quest 3S a little bit more and kind of get a better feel for the differences in performance. And if there's any sort of hangups there. But since the controllers are the same and the processor is the same, it really just does come down to optics and the resolution. So I, for one, am so excited about this, and I'm really hoping this will kind of jumpstart my interest again to building an MR app. I was working on one in the past, and I just couldn't get it working. And I think those of you who are new to VR or are very content with your Quest 2, you will be in love with the Quest 3S. And I think the budget price point drives down the cost of existing Quest 2s on the market for people who really are on a tight budget, as well as it puts pressure on people who are, sitting on stock of the Quest 3 128 gig, since those are starting to clear out. So just so many price points to get into VR and to really enjoy it. And a new way to get into MR on a budget. I think that really covers my initial impressions I wanted to go over. I really hope that answered some of your questions, and if you have any more, please drop it in the comments. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.